It's an E minor, right. Second fret on the 5th string and second fret on the 4th string. Good. And you play all 6 strings. Now when you brush down, try to make sure you brush it literally across all 6 strings, because what we're trying to do when we play this chord is we're trying to check by ear to hear whether the chord sounds like it's in tune, which in this case of course it does. But if one of the strings is a little off, you would hear that when you strum the chord, and that's why. So, why don't you play something for me?
What should I
Do whatever you do by ear, yeah.
Play something that you feel shows me what your skill level is. Something that demonstrates to me what you've been doing, okay? Because that's what I want to see.
Oh, what's that song called that I learned the other day?
Why don't you just do Square Hammer, do the Star Spangled Banner, do whatever, right? Turn it down just a little bit though, it's like cray loud.
Yeah, that's a loud guitar.
So I just learned this the other day.
Interesting. Where did you learn that?
I learned it by watching a School of Rock clip on YouTube.
Okay. All right, so now I'm going to show you the right way. Because that is not really the right way to play that song. The right way goes like this. Can you hear that's like if you've listened to the song, you'll notice it. Yeah. So what I'm doing there is I'm what we call barring. Do you know what I mean by that? You don't do that on the violin.
No.
But on the guitar, you can press more than one string down with the same finger. And now, in this case, I really don't absolutely need to do that because I could use 2 fingers on the 2 strings, but that means I'm going to have to move a lot of fingers around. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing down on the 5th fret, which has a dot on it, so that'll help you right across those 2 strings, just there. You want to be fairly close to the metal, but not touching the metal. If you touch the metal, you won't get the sound. Right, good. And you're going to hit just those 2 strings with the pick.
These 2?
Those 2. No. 5th, the 2 that you're pressing down. That's the 5th string and the 4th string. Right now I'm only hearing one of those notes. So just pick the 4th string for me for a second. Yeah, there you go. Now try press it. Now hit both of them and you'll get it. There you go. Now, what I'm doing now, so most people wouldn't do this because their pinky isn't as strong as mine, but if you can get the pinky, you're going to get it to the 8th fret, so you got to go one more fret. That's 7, right, and but you got to smoosh it down across both strings just like you did with the first. Good. And then the first finger moves over to the next 2 strings, right? Right, so that gives you this. Very good. Squish it a little harder. Yeah. Right, and then the next bit goes like this. Pinky stretch, right? And you're going to go use your second finger on the next pair of strings, on strings 4 and 3. You let go the other, right there. And then back to the first finger on the same strings, Right, so that gave you that. And then you do the first part again. Pinky, the last beat goes like this. Pinky on the 8th finger. Make sure it's on the 8th. That's right. And then back to the first finger. There you go. Good. So that's the riff, that's that riff, and I always find that, you know, YouTube is great, don't get me wrong. I think there's it's fantastic that there's all this information available out there on YouTube and that you can look it up and find out how to play these songs. But the problem with it is, it's the internet.
Yeah.
And as you already know, I'm sure, there's good information on the internet and then there's not so good information on the internet. And one of the things that you'll want to do over time, when you're first starting out, you really have no way of judging this. You watch a guy play it on the internet and it looks pretty good and he looks like he knows what he's doing, and so you follow that. Over time, you're going to start to notice which guys really have it right and which guys are like, kind of not quite right. And the ones who really have it right, you can pretty much trust them, and the other guys don't even go there because you're wasting your time. So, all right. So now, what do you know? By the way, that chord that you played at the beginning, do you know what the name of that chord is?
Is that, I think that's an A.
A major. Very good. Good. So I tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to start a song with you today,
Okay.
and it's gonna, because you obviously, you know, you've been doing this for a while. You're not just Now, over time, one of the things that we're going to need to do, of course, is not just learn songs. We're going to need to learn chords. We're going to need to learn scales. Just like the violin, there's a lot of stuff that you need to know. This is going to be a little less structured and formal than the violin, because violin tends to be pretty rigid and and I'm not quite that kind of type of teacher. But as we're doing this song, you're going to want to learn the names of the chords that we're going to be playing. Not so much at the very beginning, so the song that we're going to play is an old classic rock song by the band Pink Floyd called "Wish You Were Here." Are you familiar with the song at all?
No.
Okay. So when you're learning a song that you're not familiar with, the first thing you want to do is get familiar with it. And how would you do that?
Go listen to it.
Listen to it on YouTube, exactly. YouTube, Spotify, whatever. Just listen to it, because you want to be familiar with the sound of it enough to know whether you're playing it correctly. Okay? Now, another thing I'm also going to tell you about this, this is something I feel very strongly about, okay? If you go home and you listen to this song, and you're like, ew, I don't like that song, let me know, because I'll find another song. Because my feeling about this is life is way too short to spend your time playing songs you don't like. The whole point is to play music that you like. So, actually let me play a little bit of it, and you can kind of tell me what you think. So it starts like this. So what do you think?
That's a cool song.
Cool, good. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay.
So the first thing you might have noticed was that for the whole first part, the introduction part, these two fingers stayed put. They stayed locked down on the first and second strings, third finger on the second string, third fret. No, you want to use the ring finger and pinky. Third finger, the finger numbers on the guitar, by the way, left-hand finger numbers, exactly the same as the violin. There's a little difference in the way that you want to put your fingers down, though. On the guitar, you want to keep the fingers down as much on the tip and straight down on top of the string as possible. That's very important because if your finger goes at too much of an angle, it's going to touch another string and it's going to block out and mute the sound. Now that's not usually an issue on the violin because 90% of the time you're only playing one string at a time. But on the guitar, of course, when you're playing chords that involve 3, 4, maybe even all 6 strings, you want to make sure that all of them are going to ring. So getting your finger really down on the tip like that, that's very good. Okay. Now we're not going to actually play those strings just yet. But we're going to leave them there, those fingers ready to go. What you're going to do now is you're going to start by picking the open 5th string, and then I'm going to do a maneuver which is known as a hammer-on. So what I did there was I picked the string and then I slammed my finger down hard enough to make that 2nd fret note come out without plucking the string again. This is similar to a slur on the violin where you play 2 or 3 notes with just one bow stroke. We can't use a bow on it, well, we could use a bow on the guitar, but we don't usually. So this is the best we got. So. And the next thing to do is you're going to play the open 4th string. So your pick just moves down to the 4th string. And then you're going to put this finger down, not hammer, just place it on the 2nd fret. And that's the first bit. So let's try that. Good. Okay. That was very good, but try to do that without lifting those other fingers. I know that's tricky, but that's an important part of the whole idea. Good. Very good. Now the payoff for holding those fingers down is we're now going to strum those strings. And I want you to notice 2 things about this. First of all, I'm only really hitting, maybe I might get the 4th string, no more, 3 or 4 strings only. I'm keeping this finger down. I didn't lift it up. Because I want that note to continue to ring as I strum the chord. The strum that I'm using, I'm going down, up, down, down. And because you've played music for a while, you will understand me when I say that 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. That's the rhythm of the strum. So. Yeah, why not? It won't hurt to do it again. So down, up, then up, down, then 1 more down. Good. Now, the next bit is a little easier because your finger's already on the 4th string, 2nd fret, so we're going to pick that string. Then we're going to pick the 3rd string. Good. Then we're going to go back to the 4th string. Then we're going to lift that finger up and play the open 4th string. Right, so. And then we follow that with our same strum. Down, up, up, down, down. Good. Now, so the next thing that happens is you basically repeat what you just did, except that we're going to stick a note at the beginning of the riff. And that note is going to, for all the rest of the time you play it, that note is going to start the riff. It's going to go, so you're going to grab the 6th string 3rd fret with your 2nd finger. Good. And the rest of it. And our strum. So I noticed that up strum is still a little awkward for you. It is for everybody at first. Well, I want you to notice that when I do that, I'm using more wrist motion rather than arm motion. So my arm is moving, you can see that. But when you use a little, what we call wrist rotation, it makes it much easier to get across. When you do it like this, it's really hard to drag that pick across those strings without getting a nasty sound and without sort of breaking up the sound. Whereas when you use that wrist motion, you can get all the strings to ring very easily. So just try that little flick of the wrist up. There you go, much better. Right. So that part. Is exactly the same. And then we get a new part. It starts the same way. That 6th string 3rd fret, our hammer, open 4th string. But now the second part is different, and it's very easy. We're still gonna pick that 4th string, but this time we're gonna go to the open 4th string. So we'll lift that finger up, but only that finger, yes. And then you're gonna move that finger up to the 5th string, 2nd fret. 2nd fret, that's right. And then lift it off and play the open. Then we do our strum. And then that repeats. Now at the beginning of the song, they go through each of those riffs a bunch of times. So they do the first one twice, they do the second one twice, they do the first one 2 more times, and then the second one 2 more times, and then at the very end, there's this one more additional riff that you want to learn, which goes like this. It starts like, it's the same, it starts on that 6th string, 3rd fret, and we're going to do the same hammer on the 5th string, but this time we're going to lift that finger off and play the open 5th string, and then back to the 6th string 3rd fret. And once again, okay, careful, make sure they're on the 3rd fret. Make sure those other fingers are on the 3rd fret. Right, there you go. Good, and then you do the strum. And that is the introduction to the song. Now, as soon as the introduction is over, you start just strumming chords without any fancy stuff. You might have seen that when I was playing it. I was adding a few fancy things, but that's really not the part. So, first of all, I want to ask you, how do you feel about what we just did?
Oh, I feel pretty good.
Good. You have the video, so you'll be able to follow it. You also, of course, want to listen to the song so that you'll be able to